Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars on another lovely Naples Friday. Truthfully, it's not that lovely. I mean, the air is not warm. It's not hot outside, but the mugginess, the humidity is still with us, as evidenced by the misty residue on the roof of this Volt. It's kind of unfortunate because you take pictures of a car, you walk around a car, and you end up sweating, even when it's kind of nice outside. And that's the kind of irritating Naples crap that just drives me crazy. Can't wait for us to have a proper cool front come through that sweeps away the humidity and makes everything nice and proper. I'm deep into the coronavirus whiskey this morning, so I'm very, very safe. I don't have my mask on, but there's nobody around, so the whiskey hopefully would keep it at bay. I've got, what do I have? I have this 2012 Chevrolet Volt Premium. And I can't blame anyone for this. I mean, normally I would point out how I got stuck with this car, and here I am doing a video of it. But the truth of it is, I bought this thing myself when I saw it come up recently. It came available, and I thought, you know what? I've never played with one. I've never had one. I am going to see how Chevrolet had done with the electric vehicle, well, sort of, in their attempt to take on the incredible success of the incredibly annoying Toyota Prius. And, of course, I am a GM guy, so that had that going for it. It wasn't instant hate because I'm almost willing to give GM a chance on just about anything, even a stupid little electric car. And I have to say that I have enjoyed this. I can't lie about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I wouldn't trade my, big black Chevy 67 Corvette in for it, but I have actually enjoyed driving it around for a few reasons. Number one, it's very unpretentious. I mean, when I drive a Prius or look at a Prius, they just go overboard to advertise to the world that the person driving it is some kind of asshole, and that just doesn't happen with the Volt. I mean, it could just be any little Econo box. I mean, they put a few little styling cues on it to make it appear to be maybe worth the $42,000 sticker these things had, but for the most part, it just looks like any sort of nondescript hatchback, and frankly, I appreciate that. I don't need big displays of, how I'm a great person going around saving the world. It's just not what I'm interested in. If I have any interest in cars like this, then it's about the technology and the fun of driving them and the point of them, for economical reasons. It just doesn't have to do with the idea that I'm a great person. And so many electric cars seem to be centered around that, and that drives me crazy. This is not going to be a review where I get into all the hyper-technical kilowatt shit that a lot of these guys do. I'm not a geek, not in the true sense of the word. I mean, I've watched a few Star Trek movies, but that's about it. And even if I did understand all the ridiculous stuff that people talk about with electric cars, I wouldn't cover it anyway, because there's plenty of people out there doing that. So what I'm going to do with this review is decide whether or not a guy can drive what is, almost a 10, I guess an 8-year-old car. Now that they're reasonably priced, does this thing make a fun and good daily driver? Can you enjoy yourself in this car? Can it be what you want it to be? And so far, I have to say the answer is yes. I mean, if, I were a guy who was fighting traffic every day, commuting not too long a distance, and was interested in saving gas, I might be inclined to buy a car like this for a variety of reasons. And it's a lot of fun to drive, and it's more interesting to play with. But anyway, let's just get into the thing. See that little black treatment on the bottom of the windows? I think that's made to make the cabin look bigger and more futuristic and space age. You also have a little lightning bolt in the Volt thing. Anyway, what you see back here is decent room. What's interesting is the rear seats do not go all the way across. That's because the big heavy battery, like 500 pounds worth almost, is T-shaped. So it goes from here over to here and then up through the center console. So that means you're only taking 2 Canadians with you, but they're probably going to be chipper enough. Maybe the headroom isn't fantastic, but it's adequate. We upgraded the charger on this thing. The one that it came with looked a little bit sketchy, so I got this thing off Amazon, and it's of course 8 years newer than the charger that the Volt came with. Let's see if I can open it without, probably can't. Hard to do anything one-handed anymore. Anyway, there it is. I keep it in this little box it came in because it doesn't quite fit in the original charger spot. But it purports to charge the Volt faster and better, and with 220, mind you, or 110, it's variation, than the original charger did. So the original charger come with the car if you want it, but this thing works a lot better, and we're happy we bought it. But anyway, nice space back there. If I lift up on this little handle, well, you don't have you got a little bit of room. You might fit an Uzi in there. You might get one in. You might get some kind of, I don't know, a couple hand grenades, whatever it is you need to defend yourself in this day and age. That's where the original charger would have gone. I left it back at the shop, and then there's your tire inflator. But of course, under there is access to all the battery crap, and I'm just going to leave it alone. But anyway, nice little spot to hide shit from state troopers. And of course, those rear seats do fold down if you need a little more luggage room. Have a look under the hood. I came from Bonita this morning, the neighboring town, so I've already put about 20, 25 miles on this thing, but we still have, I don't know, 10, 11 miles left of range, which, damn it, which we'll get into. Okay, so here is, actually, I don't know, I think this is the gas motor, which it has a 1.4 liter gas engine out of some kind of Italian sports car, they said, some tiny thing. I never looked up which one it was. I don't think it's the Fiat, although they run 1.4s. But anyway, this thing is about 85 horsepower, and it generates through another electric motor that then sends that electricity to yet another electric motor that actually drives the wheels. And the Volt has 4 different driving modes, which we'll get into when we're driving it, but everything neat and tidy under there. I don't like the look of these big, scary electric cables. I mean, I feel like some poor fireman rescuing a guy in a crash is going to snip into one and throw himself 50 feet backwards. I think that was a thing with Priuses for a while. They had killed a few fire. I don't even laugh at the death of firemen. I mean, my God. But, you know, there you are trying to save the earth, and instead you end up killing firemen. It just seems very ironic to me. So if you get in a crash in an old Prius, you might want to tell the fireman not to start snipping cables while he's cutting you out. But anyway, there it is. There's the gas motor, and we got a couple electric motors hanging around somewhere. See all the styling on the front. Of course, it's missing a real grill, even though it does have a gas motor. I presume that's why there's a grill on the bottom to suck air through. You still have to kind of pretend it's an electric car, even if it fully isn't. But here's the point. Now, you have to remember, this thing came out in 2011. This is a 2012, so the competition is the Prius, which is a true... not a true electric vehicle in any way. It's a hybrid that uses an electric motor to supplement its gas. Then you had like the Nissan Leaf, which is all electric and had a range of, I don't know, 40, 45 miles or so, and wouldn't let you go to the next town over if you had to. And then GM and Bob Lutz took a different approach, and they made this plug-in hybrid, which is more common now, but at the time it wasn't. And what that meant was you could plug the thing in when you were at home overnight doing whatever you're going to do. It would give you like they called it a 25 to 50 mile range depending on how you drove the car. Call it somewhere in the middle of that, 30, 35. And you could use it as entirely electric, an electric car, and just never have the gas motor running. And at the same time, if you needed to go from Florida to California, well, you could do it. You'd use up the electric juice, the gas motor would kick in, and off you are on your way. So, you know, for people who only want one car, I mean, if you have a Leaf, you have to have 2 cars. I mean, you're not going to sit there and charge the thing. You know, it turns a cross-country trip into a month-long event, like, you know, wagon train shit. So you had to have 2 cars, which sort of defies the whole point. With the Volt, you could have just one, so you could have your cake and eat it too. You could drive fully electric when you're commuting around town, and then if you had to take a trip, you could do that. And that's the part of the Volt that I really liked. I don't want to sit there charging a battery. I mean, I know with Tesla, they have some supercharging things now where you do it in like 30 minutes or something, but that's still longer than I want to spend putting gas in the car. I just want to get up and go. So I really did appreciate the way the Volt set things up to make it that one guy could have his eco car without owning 2 different cars. Anyway, let's get into the back seat. You see a big polished wheel. This is some kind of upgraded edition with leather and such. So your Canadians would be chipper enough back there. You know, for a $45,000 car at the time, they sure did use some cheapy materials. This is hard plastic everywhere. It just seems, more befitting of an entry-level car. But of course, if what a friend of mine tells me is true, then each one of these cost like 350 grand. GM was using subsidies, government money, this, that, the other. There's just no way that this thing had any profit for them at all. It was essentially a test bed. I mean, it's more complex than the lunar rover. How the hell are you going to sell it for $41,000 and make any money? The true cost of this thing must have been stratospheric. Anyway, you got some cup holders back there. You got a 12-volt outlet. Leather to go with the hard plastics. Your Canadians would be chipper enough, but not really the place you want to be. We've got keyless go, what Mercedes would call it in here, so I can lock it by pressing that little button and open it by doing the same. Okay, so up front, you've got more leather, you've got more indicators that you're in some kind of a special car. You've got all these swoopy things. They did have an option. We could have really retarded-looking stuff on that insert denoting that you have an electric car. I'm glad this one doesn't have it. It looks a lot more muted and proper. You've got these big, weird, swoopy things on the dash that frankly accomplish nothing but trying to communicate to people inside that this is not some, little runabout that costs 13 grand on a lease special, or, some poor bastard goes to the dealership and, needs the right payment. So he'll pay $1 billion for the car, but it's only $79 a month for the rest of his life. So, it's not that type of car, even though it looks like one. Let's hop in. Things I don't like, the way the seat adjusts. It uses a lever here, actually like an old Mercedes SL, I gotta say, but still, would have been nice to have a power seat, but that probably drains energy. You get all of this Starship Enterprise crap that flashes up when you hop in. You can start it by pressing this flashing blue power button. Initialize. It does this little Jetson style spool up. Oh, God. I took a video earlier today of me driving on the interstate in the dark and showing all the insanity from the illuminated buttons. So I'm going to pause for a second so I can splice that in now. This is where the Volt just becomes kind of overwhelming. I just want to change a radio station. That's all. I just want to change it. Well, okay, so you can. You can go over to radio band. I'm going to drive with my knee for a minute. Hit that. Okay, then we get the radio display, and now we're going to, how the hell do we, there's a tune. Okay, there is a tune button. Look at that. All right, we're in good shape. But I've got to say, you want to talk about the Starship Enterprise function. I wish I could bring the camera all the way into the back seat. I just feel like I'm at the console of a nuclear aircraft carrier or something, trying to, pretend I'm not overwhelmed by all the inputs and driving modes and controls and soft touch buttons and digital readouts. And this isn't exactly a new car either. I can't imagine what a 2021 Volt, if they have one, even looks like. This thing's pretty advanced for a dinosaur like me. You see our little green ball of leaves. It's not leafy. It's unhappy that we're on the highway, but what the hell are you going to do? Anyway, there it is. I wanted to film a little bit at night because you get a much more intense impact of all the different, but I'm going to hit this leaf now. There we go. That brings us back to our drive mode. You can see we're running on battery power right now. But anyway, it's a bit overwhelming, but I also kind of dig it, I have to be honest with you. So on the way to get photos and the proper video, we'll flash back to this one in the middle of it. And thanks for having a look. Okay, we're back again. So here we go. Here's our instrument cluster that is obviously a digital display, digital readout with a lot of information on it. Using these buttons over here, config, I can change it from that little leafy thing there on the right to my remaining range. That tells me my gas range, and then back to the leafy thing. If I twist this guy here, you can see I go for tutorial mode. The car will teach me what to do. It'll give me messages. It'll tell me my tire pressure, my oil life, which, frankly, here's the thing. The gas, especially if you're a commuter, you're not going to be using that gas motor much. And GM says it's okay to change the oil like at 20,000 mile intervals. I disagree. I don't see any point to that at all. I mean, it doesn't. Here's the cleverness of the car. So if you're driving it for 10,000 miles, all electric, at a certain point, a little screen will come on saying, hey, is it okay to run the gas motor for a while to keep the fuel fresh and the oil going? And you can say yes, and it'll kick on. It also won't let you have a gas tank last for more than a year. So it's trying to keep the fuel fresh. That said, why not? Why not change the oil every 10,000 or so, whether that motor's running or not? I mean, it doesn't cost a lot, and it just seems like good maintenance to me, so that's what I would do. Over on the left, you see the battery life remaining. Again, I was driving all over this morning, so we're down to 11 miles, but more than enough for me to get to work. You got this multifunction wheel, leather. You got grippities on the 10 and 2. You can go through your cruise control crap here, your Bluetooth and stereo stuff there. You got your headlights automatic over there, your wipers there. All very fine stuff. Going back to the indicators, we've got our tire pressure, messages. We can change the units, the tutorial mode. You can have navigation. And leave it on the trip auto. You got A, B, and then oil life. So we're just going to leave it on A. Over here, you've got this little pop-up iPod-looking thing that the snowflake should love. Above it, you've got, I don't know, what the hell is this? I suppose that's a little place for a, baby Glock or PPQ or, I don't know, something goes in there, but nothing that I need. Here's your touch screen and button screen. And again, I mean, look at the complexity of this. How is some old guy? I mean, I have enough trouble with it. I couldn't imagine my dad in here. He'd end up punching the screen out in anger. I will give them credit for one thing. If I go to radio, oh yeah, Billy Joel. Whatever. I'm hot and cold on Billy Joel. They do give you a tuning knob. Look at that. And an actual volume knob, like straight out of a 58 Buick. So God bless them for that one little gift to people like me. I don't have to sit there and look for stupid crap to tune the radio or turn the volume up. You also get XM and crap. But here's your heated seats, which they want you to use instead of heat in the car because heat uses energy. If I press this Leaf, and I mean, this kind of shit makes me sick. It really does. I don't give a crap about trees. I really don't. I don't even know if trees give a crap about trees. Anyway, if you press that, there you get your battery power display. This is like right out of a Prius, and it's way simplified. I mean, again, we talked about the 4-drive mode. So you've got all battery power going through that little electric motor. Then you've got battery assist on the gas motor. Then you've got full-on gas mode, and then there's one other mode, which I forget about. So it's an incredibly complex system in terms of, what mode it's going to be driving in at any given time. I found that the best for me is to put it in, here we go, sport. Let me find. You got normal, sport, and mountain. What mountain does is if you're in mountains, it's going to help the gas motor. It preserves the electric so that it can boost the gas, so that you're not going to end up crawling at 40 miles an hour up at the top of the mountain like you would in some old crappy car. It just helps you, go up inclines a little bit more powerfully. Otherwise, I like to keep it in sport because of the way it rides with the steering and that sort of thing. PRNDL, if you go into low, it's not really like low gear in the transmission. Instead, it changes the way the battery regenerates through the brakes, and you could start driving the car like a very classic electric car where you don't really have to use the brakes all that much, like an i3, one of those stupid little German toasters. You take your foot off the gas on an i3 and the regenerative brakes start stopping the car, frankly, as good as it would if you were just coasting to a nice slow stop at a red light using the brakes. So you could do that as well with the Volt, but only when it's an L. When it's in D, it behaves much more like a normal car and doesn't regenerate the brakes as much. Back to that little leafy ball thing, which again, vomitorium when I see all these leaves all over the car. I mean, you got little Chinese kids mining lithium and, coughing their lungs up. And here I am, feeling great about myself myself driving one of these things. I don't buy it. I really don't. I don't think this car is some wonderful way of, creating your ecological world. I mean, I think it's just as evil as any, 68 Cadillac in its own way. The only difference is it makes people feel good, and that's important. But I dig it, again, for the technology. But you see that little green leafy ball. So let me do a quick start. Okay, you see how that moves almost like a gimbal, and the leaves go away. So the more jerky you are, the less efficient the car is, and the more unhappy it is. So what it wants is, as you're driving around, for everything to look just like it does now, with that leafy ball in the middle. That's when you're at your most efficient. Anyway, you got your defrost front and rear. You got your radio. You got, what do we got? Sirius radio. We've got a hard drive, DVD auxiliary. If you put one in, you can probably do that. I don't know if it has any kind of Instagrams or TikToks or snowflake crap, and I don't care. It's got more than enough for what I need. I like leaving it in that little drive mode thing because it beautifully distracts me from looking at the road and avoiding other traffic. You've got lock and unlock. You've got, again, your volume stuff. You've got this weird sort of almost unusable space around the center console. You could put a gun up in here, but the sides are too small. You take a hard right turn and the gun's probably going to fly out and hit your feet. Whatever you fit in here, I don't know, maybe again a little hand grenade or something to throw at another driver. You do have some cup holders, and then you've got a nice big center console there with power outlet and USB, and that is a good spot for some weaponry. If you look in the back, Prius style, it has that weird sort of double window thing, which is supposed to give you a better view if you're about to run over a toddler. And of course it has the camera and the backup sensors. Let's go for a spin. So it's utterly silent right now, because it's running on electric power. It's going to do that until we use up those 10 miles, and then it's going to kick on the gas engine. Wait for the slow gate. We'll see how Dalton did on the windshield today. I bet it's crappy, and I'm going to have to pause it to the end of the road, but we'll see. I've been beating the crap out of him on that lately. To no avail at all. I mean, he's useless. Useless. He just... Anyway. Pretty crappy. All right, I'm gonna wait to the end of the street. We'll take a left, or a right, and keep going. Look at this. We got deers. I hope these aren't the ones with the fangs. And they got a mother and her two babies. Reminds me of Bambi, and play that in reverse if you wanted to have a happy ending. Oh, I'm kidding. Okay, so now we're going to take a right turn. We're driving in basically total silence. I do have the air conditioning nice and cold, which is great. Our range is depleting. There you see our little green ball is unhappy. There, the Leafs came back. Now it's happy. The battery is made up, the battery pack is made up of like 200 individual lithium battery sleeves. They're like a 1/4 inch by 5 by 7 or something. And GM runs them at 65% only to prolong life. They don't stress the batteries. That's how they're able to put an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the battery pack. And frankly, people at Volts have found that they're lasting much, much longer. So they're, terrifically well-engineered and very, very cautious. I think this was such an important car for GM in their attempt to take on Toyota and build up this technology for the future, that they had their engineers sort of over safety everything. And as a result, the car has terrific quality and terrific reliability. They report very few issues with Volts in terms of mechanics, and I think that's because GM knew everyone would be watching and they took extra special care. Shame they don't do that with every car they sell. So anyway, driving along is just fine. When the 8 miles are gone, my gas motor is going to kick in and I can drive to Cleveland if I want to. And that's what makes this thing useful to me. That's why I say the average guy can use this as a daily driver and his only car, or girl. I guess they care about stuff like that too, but whatever. You can own a Volt as a reliable used car, save a ton of money on gasoline, enjoy yourself with all this retarded technology, and have fun on your way to work. That's if you're the guy who doesn't need a big combustion engine, and there are some people out there who do, and I may be one of them. But for a lark, for a bit of fun, I really do enjoy driving this around. It's heavy, so it drives very substantially, but it does have a very low center of gravity, so it handles okay. Even in sport mode, the way they've controlled the mapping, it will not do that sort of electric smoke the tires thing that a Tesla will do. You sport or normal mode, it still only gives you like 80% throttle and a very modest take up. But once you get rolling, then the power kicks in, and you're able to go 0 to 60 in like 9 seconds. It also cruises on the interstate at 80 beautifully, no issues at all, and is just a very normal car to drive, despite having all these different drive modes and all this different technology. GM did a lovely job integrating it all into what feels like a pretty normal car, and even though it's small, it drives pretty substantially. So, could a guy, now that these are cheap, would you buy one? Would you drive it? Would you enjoy it? Yeah, I think you would. If you're that kind of guy, I think this is a terrific used car bargain, and it's an awful lot of fun technology in a small package that will save you a ton of money on gas. So there it is. There's my Chevy Volt review. Hope everything's going your way and you're enjoying yourselves. We'll see you Monday. I got an old Mercedes coming up and some other fun stuff. Thanks for having a look. We'll see you with the next one. Take care.